What the hell is going on?
The weather is super fantastic is what is going on, so let's drop everything else because this is the part of the news that really affects you, personally. Britain is set for the warmest weekend of the year so far, with expected temperatures of up to, and not including, 18 degrees centigrade. That's more than twice as high than the average for February. And to put that in proper temperatures, you double it and add 32. So double 18 is... it's like 38, and 38 and 32 is like 30, it's like 90. It's going to be 90 degrees this weekend. Can you believe that?
No.
Experts say that there's going to be plenty of sunshine through to Sunday as an area of high pressure continues to dominate the UK. And for listeners in the northwest, sunshine is the thing, the bright yellow thing in the sky. It's round. Don't look directly at the bright yellow thing. Met Office Chief Meteorologist Steve said we could see temperatures almost 10 degrees higher than what we might normally expect at this time of year, so there will certainly be a spring-like feel in the air across the country. Boing. He said northwestern parts of the UK will be wet and windy at times, and that means you, Glasgow.
Oh,
no. Well, I don't know. Wait a minute. Let me just check while you wait. Because it would seem to be particularly unfair if the rest of the country is sizzling, that Glasgow would once again be being rained on. So I'll just check while you wait. Tonight, no rain. Well, yeah, no rain tonight. You get a whole night without rain. Tomorrow, of course, it will be raining. And on Sunday, cloudy. Monday, cloudy. Tuesday, cloudy. Wednesday, cloudy. Thursday, cloudy. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the following week, raining. Oh, well, never mind. You don't have anything to wear when the sun shines anyway, right? This expert said that northwestern parts of the UK will be wet and windy at times. But... and there is a big, giant but, settled conditions will spread to all parts of the country by Sunday. That was the cloudy part. It won't actually be raining, but it'll still be cloudy. A little bit of sunshine every now and again, if you're lucky. And you know what? It's all thanks to global warming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Marco from the Met Office has said over the next few days, temperatures of 17 or 18 centigrade are certainly not out of the question in quite a few areas. Which seems a bit vague. Not out of the question. What is it? Is it going to happen or not? He said, we're expecting it to be slightly cooler on Sunday and Monday. But predictions for next week show a chance of the weather warming up again due to a change in wind direction, because it's coming up from Africa and going through Europe. I don't know what you're thinking. Why can't the wind just stay in the first country it arrives in? Average temperatures for England in February so far stand at 9 centigrade this year, against the normal average of 7 centigrade. And while that doesn't sound like a great difference, it does mean that this month is the 9th warmest February since records began in 1910, whenever that was. But don't worry that scientists say this is a small indication of the sort of thing that we can expect from climate change, and that a small uptick in temperature here means a huge change in the climate elsewhere, and that could lead to mass migration and natural disasters, the likes of which we've never seen. We can ignore those warnings because scientists got something wrong once, so now we can ignore all scientists' declarations on any subject unless we're ill. When those naysayers give themselves over to science completely. They particularly like the machine that goes ping. Well, that was an odd last story in the news. Two of Germany's most famous car companies have agreed to work together on new technology. BMW and Daimler, which owns Mercedes-Benz, have invested more than £800 million in the joint venture, which is going to look into bookable parking spaces and how car sharing could work in the future, as well as other such futurology. £800 million. Well, that sounds like a lot of money, but not to those people. That's nothing. That's spare change. That's the kind of money that they find in the ashtray of one of their cars, £800 million. BMW and Daimler would spend £800 million designing a new indicator stalk. That's not investing in the future. That's rubbish, that is. Anyway, there is we're embarking on a glorious new future in this country, a glorious new political future. Isn't it exciting?
No.
We've got a new political party. And no, it isn't exciting, because we know who they are and what they don't believe in, but we don't really know what they do believe in, apart from not liking Jeremy Corbyn. So I went on their website to see what they're about. I actually did some research. Can you believe that?
Negative.
They are called the Independent Group, which is a particularly bad name because it makes them sound like they're part of an ailing newspaper business. I mean, why not go the whole hog and call themselves the Dodo Party? So according to their website, which was presumably written by at least one of them, but we don't know which one, because they don't have a leader yet, they say, ours is a great country of which people are rightly proud, where the first duty of government must be to defend its people and do whatever it takes to safeguard Britain's national security. National security they're on about now. Well, fortunately, we've got that covered. Because that very scary Defence Minister, Gavin Williamson, is in charge of our security.
Oh, no.
Well, we've just got these spiffy new F-35 planes that swoop and soar. Oh, they're just fab. And they're going to sail a big boat right up the China Sea. That'll make President Xi's eyes water. And when Vladimir Putin gets a look at those tractors we're going to mount rockets on the top of, and the weaponised dairy herds that we've got in the pipeline, oh, we'll be fit to burst. So our security is in good hands. You can relax, everybody. What else have they got? On the Independent Group's website, they say, Britain works best as a diverse, mixed social market economy in which well-regulated private enterprise can reward aspiration and drive economic progress, and where government has the responsibility to ensure the sound stewardship of the taxpayers' money and a stable, fair and balanced economy. Did you follow that?
No.
Way too many words. What are they talking about? Let's see if we can get that into a slogan that we could fit on the side of a bus. How about Make Britain Great Again? Good grief. I wonder if the person who wrote that understands what that means. It looks like the kind of question that you'd get on a university finals exam paper. They say a strong economy means we can invest in our public services. We believe the collective provision of public services in the NHS can be delivered through government action, improving health and educational life chances, protecting the public, safeguarding the vulnerable, ensuring dignity at every stage of life, and placing individuals at the heart of decision-making. Wow! I feel like I want to stand up when I read that. Individuals at the heart of decision-making, however, I'm raising a finger of complaint. Because that's what got us into this mess in the first place. We're the last people who should have a part in our country's decision-making. That's what we pay that lot for. They're supposed to be smarter than us, and we pay them to decide things on our behalf, so please stop asking us what we want. Because we want whatever we read on Facebook last. They say the people of this country have the ability to create fairer, more prosperous communities for present and future generations. We believe that this creativity is best realised in a society which fosters individual freedom and supports all families, which is very vague. Just like, and it sounds a lot like the second one. Are they out of ideas already? They should have just played the national anthem. We love our country. 0345. That is one of the most beautiful renditions of that beautiful song I have ever heard. My ears are bleeding. Patriotically. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. I haven't even got through half of their promises, their declaration of intent yet. And have we learned anything so far?
No.
Not really. 0345 6060 973. Nick Abbot, LBC, Friday and Saturday night at 10.
This is LBC. 3. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
You're wondering what it's all about, and I can't tell you because I don't know myself.
Which is pretty much the slogan of the new political party. We have no idea what we're for, but we know what we don't like. Actually, they do know what they're for. So far, going through their... It's not really a manifesto, but going through their website, they like our country, they like the NHS, and they like democracy. So far, so controversial. They said the barriers of poverty, prejudice and discrimination facing individuals should be removed. An advancement occur on the basis of merit, with inequalities reduced through the extension of opportunity, giving individuals the skills and means to open new doors and fulfil their ambitions. They're going to teach us how to open doors. It's all very waffly and vague, ain't it? Which means that it's exactly like a manifesto. We want the future to be great. Again. And they are definitely repeating themselves. Everyone should have the chance to be everything that they can be. Which is the slogan of a Coca-Cola ad, isn't it? Or is it the American Army? They say individuals are capable of taking responsibility if opportunities are offered to them. Everybody can and should make a contribution to society, and that contribution should be recognised. Paid work should be secure and pay should be fair. Well, good luck with that. Because the tech giants have taken over the world, and the richest people who ever lived aren't interested in paying a fair wage, because they would rather keep all the money that they're draining out of society for themselves, and buy rocket ships and sunglasses, and every now and again flickers 10 pence and call it philanthropy. And as they've got so big that countries are actually fighting each other to host them, so that what little tax they pay is paid in their country, see Ireland, there's not much we can do about it until the entire human race gets less greedy and acts together in the interests of all of us and stands up to these multinational giants. And is there any chance of that happening soon?
No.
No chance. They say our free media, the rule of law, and our open, tolerant and respectful democratic society should be cherished and renewed. Renewed? Do they mean revered? Is that a typo? Why does it need to be renewed? They said, we believe in our parliamentary democracy in which our elected representatives deliberate, decide and provide leadership. Show up on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, get drunk and harumph. They should be held accountable by the whole electorate, and that is the best system of representing the views of the British people. And that's right. And the absolute worst way of representing the views of the British people is asking us to decide on a matter of huge importance and great complexity, armed with no facts and a head full of lies. Unless that's a controversial thing to say. They say, in order to face the challenges and opportunities presented by globalisation, migration and technological advances, we believe the multilateral, international, rules-based order must be strengthened and reformed. We believe... How can you... It must be strengthened and reformed. You can't strengthen something and then reform it. Reform it first, then strengthen it. You don't want to make something... If you're trying to bend something, you don't want to make it harder before you bend it. Bend it first, then make it hard. And by the way...
Warning!
Don't Google that phrase. They say... God, there's a lot of long words. Well, just a lot of words in general, but there's a lot of long words. Almost as though somebody was being paid by the syllable to write this stuff. In order to face the challenges and opportunities presented by globalisation, migration and technological advances, we believe the multilateral, international, rules-based order must be strengthened and reformed. Is it just me, or is anybody else getting what this means?
Negative.
It ain't just me, then. They said, we believe in maintaining strong alliances with our closest European and international allies on trade, regulation, defence, security and counter-terrorism. And I don't think that means you, Donny. I think the world's given up on you, you giant fat sack of president.
Oh, shut up!
They say, as part of the global community, we have a responsibility to future generations to protect our environment, safeguard the planet, plan development sustainably, and to act on the urgency of climate change. You know, if they'd acted on the urgency of climate change before they started writing this, it would be solved by now. Blimey, how long did it take to write all this? And as for acting urgently on climate change, I think that ship has sailed. That ship has sailed and sunk. I mean, if the vast majority of the world's scientists are right, we're already on course for catastrophic changes in the Earth's climate, and vast stretches of land that are habitable now will no longer be in the future. And our collective response to these warnings of impending doom is to ignore them, or pretend they aren't going to happen, or say that scientists are wrong now because they once got something wrong in the past. And the people who cling to those beliefs will often be the very same ones that cling to religion. And if they applied the same logic to religion as they do to science, then the religion business would be as dead as the high street. It would have shut up shop alongside Woolworths. This new party says power should be devolved to the most appropriate level, trusting and involving local communities. More powers and representation should be given to local government to act in the best interests of their communities, which is more, we like democracy. But that's probably right. I mean, we are a country of very centralised control. Councils should be allowed to tax their residents and provide for them as necessary, because what's important to the people of Richmond is not necessarily the same for the people of Rochdale. But I suspect that that's a bit too much democracy for our leaders to contemplate. So here's their mission statement, the TIGs, or the Tiggers as they've been called. They say, like so many others, we believe that none of today's political parties are fit to provide the leadership and direction needed by our country. We have no confidence in their leadership's competence or culture. Britain faces real challenges, but the main parties don't look to the future. They're trapped in the past. Our country deserves better than this. It's time to dump the old politics, reach across tribal lines and do what British people expect us to do, work together to deliver a better life for everyone. Doesn't that sound nice? Why can't people just get along? They said, we want you to have the skills you need to succeed in life, the houses your families need to live in, the freedom and support to go as far as your talents will take you. We need to transform our society so that it's fit for the 21st century. It's a big job. And while we've taken the first step, this moment belongs to all of us. We need to do this together. If you share our values, are tired of the mess that politics is in, and are impatient for change, then get involved. Together, we can make a difference. And, oh, by the way, please give us some money. You can be a supporter or a funder by making a donation. Or you can become a donor by giving them at least £500. Or, for your name to appear on a list of generous bigwigs, you can give £7,500. And they can put me down for none of the above. Just as someone might vote for them in a general election as none of the above. As I did for the Greenies. Many times in a row. I went down the list and I thought, well, I don't like that one, and I don't like that, and I don't like that, and I don't like that. That just leaves the Greenies.
Groovy.
That's what I voted for. I voted for none of the above. And I'm perfectly happy with that decision.
Yowza.
And they're keeping their options open as to who might lead them because, and I am not making this up, they say that the ideal leader might not have joined yet. Well, I'll go one louder. He might not be... He or she, sexist, might not have been born yet. Still waiting. Oh, that was the wrong one. There. I'm still getting used to the new system. All my sound effects are all over everywhere, baby. And besides, I mean, would politicians have been part of the system? Are they the ones to actually reform the system? I mean, does anybody really believe that lot will be able to agree on anything, apart from anything else, beyond some vague assurances that they are on our side? I bet that there'll be splits in the new party before the month is out. There'll be people who leave the party that they left their last party to join, if only because they don't want to be called Tiggers, which is a terrible name. They should have thought of that before. Stupid. I bet there's a new independent of the independent party by this time next week. And so the list gets longer. It was increased by the total number of 1 today. And so far, it's Tory deserters, Heidi Allen, Anna Soubry, Sarah Wollaston, and Labour deserters, Chaka Amuna, Luciana Berger, Mike Gapes, Chris Leslie, Angela Smith, Anne Kofi, Gavin Shuker, Joan Ryan and Ian Austin. Most of whom I bet you're hearing about for the very first time. And I know that we vote for our local MP in a general election, not for the party they represent. Technically, that's the truth. But really, the problem they've got is that people didn't really vote for them in the last general election. They voted for the party they represented. Even though that's not technically true, that's how people vote. We've got no idea who our MPs are. We've got not one clue who they are. And so we just go down for our favourite party, Monster Raving Loony, and we just tick whoever's name is beside it. So I don't think that these people can leave the party that people voted for and just carry on in their position as though nothing's happened. And if they do the right thing and put the country above themselves and their new party, they might not like the answer the public gives to the question, do you like me? Because we might not really like them. Especially as they will have forced us to traipse down to the polling station again when we could be sat at home eating crisps and watching Jeremy Kyle. So they seem to be against Jeremy Corbyn. That seems to be the main thing that they can agree on. And they haven't said as such out loud, but they also appear to be for a second referendum. Because if that's the truth, then I know a rudderless ship that might want to dock in their port.
We should have a second referendum.
Mentioning no names. I wonder how they would react if Uncle Nige showed up and wanted to join. And that is the right one. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 10:30, the news headlines with Zora Sullivan.
Work and Pensions Secretary Amber Rudd.
What in blazes goes on inside that head of yours?
Don't ask. Jason says, I don't know if BMW would spend all that money, £800 million, on a new indicator stalk, as they know that most of their customers wouldn't use it. I thought it was another manufacturer who seemed to attract the absolute flat-out worst drivers on the road. I think in common belief, it may used to have been BMW, but it ain't them no more. Now, I can't say on the air which manufacturer it is, but it is also a German company, but I'm not allowed to mention their name out loud. Howdy. 0345 6060 973. And white vans and lorries and I was going to say buses, but they're actually quite good buses. And they often give a double indicator thank you for letting them out, which is always appreciated. We, as drivers, we go from, oh, that's nice, he said thank you, to, he didn't say thank you, I want to kill him. And there's nothing in between. We're constantly on the verge of absolute fury. Just don't upset us. Leatherhead, hello, Tim.
Hi, good evening, how are you?
Great, mate.
I was just trying to find out which direction. I can't recognise the direction you're going in with this new Tigger party. I think you're trying to have it both ways. On the one hand, they've got off their backsides and done something, and you're criticising them for it, which is not the way you usually operate.
I don't think I'm criticising them. No, I'm not criticising them for what they did. I was going through what they said that they were about, and it all seems a bit
give them a
vague.
Chance. They've only been going for 48 hours. Give them a chance.
Well, they haven't been going for 48 hours. They've been going their entire political lives. I mean, if they haven't come up with a thought about which direction they would like to take the country to this point, then what are they doing in that job?
Well, I think that they've, as they've all said, I think they've all been tied to the yoke of their party, following the party line, and they've got to a point where they no longer feel they can support that party line.
Right, but that doesn't mean to say that they didn't have a thought in their tiny little heads other than what Mrs. M or Uncle Jezza told them to think. I mean, presumably they've thought about what ails the country at some point previous to this, and all they've come up with is a lot of syllables about, we like democracy and the NHS is great.
But that's not true, is it? Because particularly people like Sarah Wollaston, Heidi Allen, and Anna Soubry have made themselves very unpopular in their own parties by telling the rest of their party what they really think.
Which is?
They've been ostracised for expressing that view. And in particular on the Brexit argument.
Ostracised seems a bit strong.
Ostracised. Kicked out.
Well, not kicked out, they left.
They left, but what does ostracised mean then? I thought it meant sort of parked on one side, put on the naughty step.
Well, I don't think either of those things is true. I mean, I'm not disputing your definition, just what it is that has happened to them. They flounced out. They weren't kicked out.
They flounced out indeed, but they were marginalised and they had their lives made pretty unpleasant before that.
Now, do you think that they should subject themselves to the public vote? Because I don't believe that the public voted for them as individuals, not in great numbers. They voted for whichever party they happen to represent.
Well, they may have done, but I listened to Anna Soubry on LBC earlier in the week, and her point, which I could understand, is that she herself has not changed since the election in 2017. It's her party that's changed, and she no longer feels she can represent that party.
Yes.
So I think it's perfectly reasonable for her to make that point and draw it to the attention of people who did vote Conservative. At the end of the day, she's there to represent their best interests, and if that's what she thinks, she's doing her job by telling them.
Well, I don't think that the people voted for her as an individual, though. They voted for the party that she used to represent, and now she's walked out. She doesn't represent that party anymore. Therefore, she should subject herself to see if she actually does have the people's support.
This is an interesting argument, isn't it? Because the Brexiters won't give us a second vote because things have changed, but now they demand that the likes of Anna Soubry should have a second vote because things have changed. They want it both ways as well, don't they? And that's the problem. You can't have it both ways. They're elected for the 5 years from 2017. They're now saying they stood on a what's the word? Manifesto that has effectively been torn up and thrown out of the window, and they no longer feel they can support that party's view.
Yeah.
But they are still MPs, they were still elected, and they are doing the country. The whole point is that, and I've been listening to Brexiters ringing up at LBC complaining that this is not right and they should be ashamed of themselves. I think you would be the first one to agree with me that you struggle to find a Brexiter who can tell you why they voted to leave the EU, and they can't tell you what the benefits will be. But
well, no, no, that's not true. They will say with great force why they voted to leave the EU, but
and that was?
Well, a wide variety of reasons. Because we want to get our country back, so we don't have to obey all of their rules and regulations.
Exactly. Well,
so to make Britain great again.
We know that's the one argument I will accept, or the two arguments I will accept, is that a lot of people were sticking two fingers up at George Osborne and David Cameron, fair enough, and with it, therefore, the Tory party. And a lot of people were sticking two fingers up at the status quo and the establishment. And the likes
I think that's something that people said after they voted to justify the vote, sticking two fingers up at the establishment. Please, they're all the establishment.
If that's what they did, the establishment is now reacting to that by breaking up this two-party system and giving us a third option. So don't knock it. Let's give them a pat on the back and say good luck to you. Let's see how you get on.
Well, I do wish them good luck, but I would just like them to come up with something that's a bit more concrete than all this waffle. I mean, what are they actually for?
Come round to mine for a cup of tea.
I'm absolutely not going to do that, Tim.
We'll knock something up for them.
But thanks for the offer. 0345 6060 973. Well, here's one thing that they seem to be against: anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism. I just can't get my head around that. Like, I really genuinely can't. I just don't understand it. I mean, what drives people to be anti-Semitic? It's a mystery to me. But please don't call and explain it to me. I am begging you, and I appreciate your cooperation in that regard.
Thank you.
And they're against a hard Brexit. So that's two things that we know. But so's most of the people in the House of Commons. I mean, that's just normal for normal people. No one that has a handle on the facts thinks that exiting the EU with no deal would be a good idea, apart from the millionaires and billionaires of the Brexit fundamentalist ultras. One of which is the billionaire American who doesn't work, live or pay taxes here, another's a billionaire who's decamped to the tax haven of Singapore, and then of course there's the billionaire who's left for the tax haven of Monaco. I mean, all that the Brexiteer ultras have left is Lord Snooty and Arthur Daly.
I'm a nutcase.
Mentioning no names. But unfortunately, these defectors have left us in something of a quandary. It's a bit late now to save the country. I mean, they should have done this years ago, shouldn't they? I mean, have their parties changed so significantly in the last month or so that only now they're prepared to leave in order to save the country? It should have been blooming ages ago they left. Unless some corners of the Labour Party only became intolerably intolerant just recently. And the Tory Party only became unconcerned for the average person in the last week. I mean, why now? When it's too blooming late. It is a bit last minute, isn't it? I mean, what on earth do they hope to achieve? It's like the bandmaster changing the set list as the Titanic starts taking on water. I mean, Brexit will either be a total disaster, in which case they will vie to captain a sinking ship, or it will be a huge success, in which case their complaints will be drowned out by manic cheering. And I'm not sure that positioning themselves as the tolerant, inclusive set is going to get much traction with a country that seems to be quite enjoying its newfound ability to shout whatever unhinged, hateful thing that crosses its mind. I touched on this a little while ago. I do think that people are quite enjoying it now. They're spraying their criticism about like a garden hose connected to a water butt of bile. It's pouring out. Still, could be worse. They could be UKIP. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Let me remind you about my Super Soaraway podcast. The latest episode is up now on the internet. Have you seen the internet? Oh, the things you'll find on there. They got pussycat videos and puppy dog ones too. And my podcast is called the Nick Abbot Habit. You can find it on the Global Player app if you are an Apple person. If you're not, the Android version does not have it yet, but you can find it where they give away excellent podcasts. Ask for it by name, the Nick Abbot Habit.
It's my huge honour to present...
Trying to connect you. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Yes, sorry to keep you waiting, George. You're in Brixton, but you know that.
Yeah.
Please speak directly into the phone.
Even?
Well, you're going to have to get to higher ground, George, or use a landline. Have you got a landline?
No, I don't have a landline.
Okay. Right, go ahead. We'll try and make this work.
Okay.
It's going very well so far. How's it going for you, George?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Okay, are you completely satisfied with the way it's going at the moment?
Yeah.
Is it everything you thought it would be?
Yeah, everything is okay. I want to contribute concerning the MPs, their resignations and stuff.
What?
Am I on air or something?
It sounds like you. I'll give you one more go. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, so what I want to say is that, I think your constitution is giving wiggle room for these MPs to be hanging around Parliament. Meanwhile, they've resigned. If you resign, I mean, you must also, like the party, must organize a by-election.
Yes.
Because in my country, if you resign like this, like there will be a by-election maybe the next month.
Right. Which country is that?
Yeah, I'm from Ghana.
Ghana. So in Ghana, if you resign from your party, there'll be a by-election that month.
If you ditch your party the next month, there's going to be a by-election.
Yeah. Well, that seems fair. That seems reasonable. Yeah. I know in this country that we don't actually vote for our Prime Minister. We vote for our local MP, and then they add them up and see who gets to be your top dog. But that's not really how people vote. Not really. I mean, most of the people in this country have got no idea who their local MP is. I bet if I went to the street with a clipboard with a fiver stuck to it, there wouldn't be anybody that would be able to name their MP and win a fiver. Not one single person, I bet.
Yeah, because in my country, for instance, there will be a primaries in a district. So you if you contest and you win, then you come to Parliament. So if you resign, they just drop you just like that. I mean, no two ways about that. But here, I mean, democracy is too much. There's too much democracy. There's too much.
Wait. There's too much democracy? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, the democracy is too much because they usually tolerate certain things. You understand?
No. You're saying we've got too much democracy?
Yeah, too much of everything is bad. Democracy is too much.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, because there should be a cap on certain things.
On certain what things?
Yeah, if you resign from your party, you've resigned. So they should just...
Yeah, so you're asking you want more democracy. More voting equals more democracy, right?
No. What I'm saying is that democracy is too much. If you have resigned, what's the meaning of resignation? So you are a host, yeah? If you resign, what does it mean? Are you still going to be on air?
No.
Of course. So if an MP has resigned, he must go home. He mustn't hang around in Parliament.
Right, but that doesn't constitute too much democracy. I don't really know what point you're making there, but I think we can agree on the basic point that if you quit your party, which would disappoint a significant number of people who voted for you in the first place, that means that you should ask us again, forcing us to go out and find a polling booth again. Got to stand in some plywood box, try to find your name on a list. Thanks a lot, Anna Soubry. All right, cheers, George. 0345 6060 973. This tweet says, was that Gavin Williamson or Michael Crawford, circa Some Mothers Do Have 'Em? What, are you talking about my superb impression? Well, maybe it was a little bit of both. I always found it a bit difficult watching that Some Mothers Do Have 'Em, for two reasons. First, it wasn't funny. At all. And secondly, Michael Crawford, what was he actually playing on that show? It was either the gayest straight person ever, or there was something wrong with him. Which was it? I could never really figure it out, because there was something definitely wrong with the character that he was playing. Now, I'm not saying that being the gayest straight person ever is necessarily wrong, but if that's not the person that he was playing, then he was playing somebody who had mental issues. But everybody was laughing at him. It always made me feel a bit uncomfortable. That and the bit about it not being funny. Matt in Lewisham says, I much prefer the Lib Dems and King Vince to this new lot. It's a Lib Dem policy to let councils suspend the right to buy. Lib Dems are still doing well in council elections, but the media never report it. Fake news. God, Donny is just freaking out in America, isn't he? God, it's like... talk about spewing out the hate. Every other tweet is all in capitals with exclamation marks, and media are the enemy of the people. God, he really does want to be a dictator, don't he? A dictator... a dictator who doesn't know anything about anything.
What do I know about it? All I know is what's on the internet.
Exactly. 0345 6060 973. Let's have... who's been waiting the longest? Liverpool. Hello, Carl.
Hi.
Carl.
I agreed with your last point about some mothers do have them. Actually, I was always in a state of confusion.
Yeah, what was that about?
Anyway, thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for making your call.
Luciana Berger, or Berger, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I've never met the woman. I've seen her once. She is my representative here in Wavertree. And, I demand a by-election. I mean, personally, I'm not in a position to do so, of course. I mean, in this new splinter group, as far as I can see, there's no way they're not compatible.
Well, let me ask you about this. When the last general election was around, did you vote?
Oh, yes, of course I did, yeah. I voted for Luciana Berger because she's Labour.
Exactly.
I didn't...
Because she's Labour, not because she's Luciana Berger.
Oh, right. I'm Jewish, so, I'm certainly not anti-Semitic. But, when I lived in Australia, Tony Blair was elected for the first time. And when I phoned England, I was told he was not a socialist, and he was more like a liberal.
Wait a minute.
Disappointed
when you
after all them years.
When you phoned England...
Yeah, the day after the election.
Well, who did you speak to?
I spoke to me family.
Oh, right, because it sounded as though you just called the country and somebody was available to take your call.
No, I called me family because I was elated that Labour had been elected. I was distraught at John Smith's death. I thought that was tragic. And then I was informed while I was in Australia, and I was there for like 6 years or so, and he said, oh, well, he's not a socialist. And then I heard education, and he should have been saying employment, and he didn't.
So initially you were delighted. At first you were
absolutely, yes.
Elated, then you were petrified.
Well, it wasn't petrified because when I left Australia, I went to Holland and I lived in Europe for 10 years.
Blimey, were you on the run?
No, I'm not on the run at all. I feel like I've been on the run. I'm 60 now.
60 years old. Yeah. You made it.
Yeah, I made it, and I can't believe it myself, the brandy didn't do me in. But anyway.
Not yet.
Yeah, I was horrified, Tony Blair was a massive disappointment.
Yeah.
He introduced so many privatised ideas.
But you remember that? You remember the feeling? You remember the feeling on that first morning? And I think that we were expecting maybe a little bit too much.
Well, yeah, I think we voted. We thought we were getting a socialist government.
Maybe it was the tune. Maybe things can only get better. It was the tune that made us in expectation of something great.
Well, Jeremy Corbyn, there's absolutely no way Jeremy is anti-Semitic. This is the same Labour Party, almost, that Gordon Brown was running. And this press condemnation of Jeremy Corbyn, I just find frightening.
Well, what is amazing is that they have been trying to dig him a giant hole and bury him in it for a good 2 years now, with no success of any kind whatsoever. It's just amazing. They have levelled their guns at him and totally failed to kill him off. The combined might of the right-wing press in this country have failed in that regard. And as for Gordon Brown, still not missing you, Gordon, in case you were wondering. All right, thanks, Carl. Got to go. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Paul says it will be the Brexit's not our fault party. Well, they might want to put clear blue water between them and it, that's for sure. And by the way, it's all going very well. If you like...
I really like you. Do you like me?
Well, like is a strong word, but not strong enough. Like, I love you, and I really mean that. So for the first time, 3 cabinet ministers are publicly saying that Brexit should be delayed if Parliament does not approve a deal in the next few days. What? Delayed? Amber Rudd, David Gauke and Greg Clark have written in the Daily Mail warning of the severe damage to the economy and national security in a no-deal scenario.
Oh, no.
We're all going to die. But don't worry, because Mrs M is over in the, chit-chatting with it. Ew. Ongoing negotiations about Brexit. How's it going so far, Mrs M?
Oh, fabulous.
Some of our top lawyers, what a story this is, some of our top lawyers are calling for judges to better understand how emojis are used. Yeah, good luck with that. Top judges, emojis. You had to teach them about the internet first. And what is an computer? According to the Times, symbols like the maple leaf are causing confusion in criminal and family cases because of their hidden message. The maple leaf. Apparently it can mean drugs or, specifically, cannabis.
Want to score some pot?
Why does a maple leaf mean cannabis, other than it's a leaf, but then so's every other plant on Earth? I just don't understand the kids these days. Maybe I should be a High Court judge. Ealing, Richard.
Hi, Nick. Hi.
Richard.
Yes, so I'm calling up just to make a point. So I was listening on my drive home, and I heard you make the comment that if you went out with a clipboard and a fiver,
yes,
that no one would know who their local MP was.
Correct.
So I disagree ever so slightly. I'm from Ealing, and our MP for Ealing North is Stephen Pound, and it's someone who I think the local community know quite well. He makes a big difference in the community, and there are several stories which I've heard personally of where he's gone out and made a difference personally, you know, where people are struggling in the community and he's gone out to help himself.
To help himself?
Yes, so, I mean, one of the stories...
Wait a minute, you said to help himself?
No, not to help himself, but to himself provide assistance to people in the community.
Oh, to himself help? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Well, it sounds like this is an advert.
No, it's not an advert. It's just a disagreement with the statement which you made.
Right. But you're taking a generalisation and trying to disprove it by using a specific example.
Well, no, I have people...
Well, no, yes.
No, I have family who also live in Watford, and I know that the local MP there is Richard Harrison, and he's also quite well liked and well known in that area.
Well, but by in that area, you mean with your family?
No.
Yes.
I know other people in that area.
Well, unless you've taken a poll.
Okay, you made a statement that no one would know that.
Yes,
MP, and
that is correct. That if I went into the street with a clipboard with a fiver attached to it, waving it in front of people, and the first person who told me the name of their MP would get the fiver, about an hour later I'd still have that fiver.
I disagree. I think you should try it. I think you should try it and put it on YouTube.
Right, well, I'm absolutely not going to do that, Richard, because it sounds like you're giving me homework. Homework? But, sir, it's the weekend. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. I think that we can agree that I am right. Amber Rudd, David Gauke and Greg Clark have written in the Daily Mail warning of severe damage to the economy and our national security under a no-deal scenario. Uh-oh. We're doomed. Now, you remember Jean-Claude Juncker, don't you? Yes, that's him. Well, he is not happy. Poor Jean-Claude.
Stop whining.
He said he is not optimistic of a Brexit deal, and this was after he had talked to Mrs M. Again. What do they talk about when they get together? Shoes? I mean, come on, it's perfectly simple. They just need to give us everything that we want. And they will do that because the German car industry will insist on it. David Davis told us so. And how's that going, by the way?
Dreadful.
It's the simplest deal that anyone ever made, remember? What is alarming is that this is the easy bit. What we're going through right now, over the last 2 years, this is the easy bit. This is just about us leaving. We haven't even started on the hard bit yet, which is the trade deal. But David Davis said that that would be a piece of cake too. So what could possibly go wrong? The EU Commission President, Jean-Claude Juncker, held his latest meeting with Mrs M, and the pair issued a joint statement on the process, which said, and I quote, they got nowhere. How can you talk so much for so long and get nowhere? It's a mystery, as Toya used to say. In fact, this was great. Jean-Claude Juncker suggested that the talks were making little progress and claimed that he had Brexit fatigue. Brexit fatigue. He's got Brexit fatigue. What do you think I've got? I've been shouted at for 3 hours twice a week for 2 years in a row now.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
He said Brexit is deconstruction, it's not construction. Brexit's the past, it's not the future, he said. Wow, we're getting philosophical now, eh? He says if no deal would happen, and I can't exclude this, this would have terrible economic and social consequences both in Britain and on the continent, and so my efforts orient in a way that the worst can be avoided. But I'm not optimistic when it comes to this issue. Blimey, we've got a bloke from Luxembourg who lives in Belgium, and he seems to be more concerned for the future of our country than some of our fundamentalist Brexiteer so-called patriots, most of whom appear to be heading for the exits to tax havens abroad. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Juncker. The nation is behind you. They hate you. Everybody here hates you. Meanwhile, the Conservative Party have finally united. They've come together for the benefit of the nation. Just kidding. They're tearing chunks out of each other like ferrets in a sack. Couldn't be worse. Michael Gove is now going to Philip Hammond. I'll come to that in a minute. What a comedy. Guildford, hello, Peter.
Hello, Nick.
Peter.
I think these MPs are making a mockery of our democracy.
A mockery of the democracy?
Yeah, how can they argue for a second referendum, in saying, like, well, we need a second referendum because people didn't know the facts, whatever the rights or wrongs of that is, and then deny their own voters who voted Labour or Tory the right to get them out. I mean, how are they allowed to get away with that, Nick?
You'd have to be out of your mind to want a second referendum.
We should have a second referendum.
Yes. Exactly. Say no more. But yeah, they are. Now they are in Parliament and they have no, in effect, they have no constituency. They have no mandate. So who do they represent? Who's backing these people on the quiet? Wait
a minute, back up. Who's backing them on the quiet? What are you inferring?
Well, I think they're being backed by. They will be backed if they get off the ground by money men. That's what I believe.
But you mean the people who give them money will have money?
Yes. But yeah.
Well, what are you saying? You think they're going to be?
I think they're backed by, people that want a pro-European sort of movement, or a Blairite movement, I should say. And I think they don't like. I mean, what I cannot understand for the life of me, they keep calling Jeremy Corbyn a loon and all the rest of it. But what is loony about what? This is what I can't understand.
Yeah.
I'm not a communist. I don't believe in a command economy and all that. But what I can't understand is what is so wrong about a man who wants to build, say, more council houses. He wants to end homelessness. He wants to put a stop to the appalling welfare cuts. You know, and things. What is insane about that? I don't get it.
No,
I do not get it.
I generally don't get it either, other than the press heard him once say that if he was elected, one of the first things that he would do would be to look into the concentration of news outlets in the hands of a very few number of people who are, in many instances, they're residing in tax havens, or they're not actually British citizens at all.
You're right, Nick. That's what it's about. It's about it. It is a class issue. It's about
it's not. No, it's not a class issue. It seems to be an issue about business. It's
about they do not like, those at the top do not like paying their tax.
Well, it's that, but it's also specifically in the case of the newspapers, which have mounted a campaign against Jeremy Corbyn, the likes of which I've never seen against any other politician in history, is that they are specifically concerned about the viability of their business interests and whether they can continue in the manner in which they have up to this point under a Jeremy Corbyn government.
They're worried about restricted ownership.
Yeah,
they won't be allowed to.
Own so many titles to control so much of the news outlets in this country. Yeah, with which comes power, of course.
I'll tell you what saddens me, Nick. This whole Brexit debate. I'm so fed up with it, like many other people.
Oh, cheer up, Peter! It might never happen. Oh no, that's right. It already has.
It's taking the light off of everything else. You've got so many, you've got so many other issues like poverty. You've got people on the universal credit. You've got homelessness. You've got all these things. And these Labour MPs ought to be ashamed of themselves, you know. They've left an anti-austerity party and joined up with someone like Anna Soubry, who I heard the other day was in favour of austerity. You know, I mean, what kind of all they?
Well, now wait a minute. What do you mean by in favour of austerity? Because the way you said it implied that she was in favour of poverty.
Yes, yes. She said she was in favour when they talked about economic policy and so on. She was in favour of George Osborne's policies of austerity.
George Osborne.
Oh God, yeah, I know what you mean. But I just feel so sad that I do not... anti-Semitism, by the way, is totally evil.
Well, it's just bizarre. I genuinely don't get it. I'm perplexed by that whole issue. Like, I really am.
Where are the police? Why aren't the police investigating these...
Oh, the police can't come around if you're being burgled at this minute. They're busy. Yeah. They're busy doing... God, I've got absolutely no idea.
If it's being done on computers, I mean, I don't know a lot about computers, but if it's being done on computers, all this abuse, this evil abuse, isn't there how on earth do we know it is Labour people doing it?
Well, let's not get into that. But Peter, if you don't know anything about computers, would you like to be a High Court judge?
Absolutely.
You would fit right in.
I think I qualify. And you do as well, Nick.
OK, I'll see you at the bench. Cheers a lot. Thanks a lot, Peter. 0345 6060 973. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC.
How was my darling?
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm super. Thanks for asking. Patrick in Guildford says, an earlier caller thought that we have too much democracy. What should we do? Pop the surplus in an envelope and post it to Venezuela? Yes, that is an excellent idea. Or at least it would have been if the stamps hadn't gone up. And for younger listeners, stamps are sticky things that you used to put on the outside of an envelope. Envelopes are things that you used to put letters in. Letters were things that you used to write to a specific individual, as opposed to now, where every passing thought you could put down in small chunks and just throw them at the world. And people are very, very upset about the price of stamps going up, which is, I don't understand. I mean, apart from anything else, nobody writes letters anymore. Not now, not ever, never. And secondly, 70p isn't that much. Not really. I mean, if you had a message that you wanted delivered to somewhere, even in your own town, would you give me 70p to deliver it for you? I mean, you didn't have to put on your hat, coat, scarf and gloves and go out and catch the bus and go down into a town and go to the address on the outskirts and then stick it in their letterbox. Would you pay me 70p to do that? Of course you would. What's the big to-do? Paul says... oh, no, I've read that one. Matt Lewisham says, I much prefer the Lib Dems... Oh, I've read that one. Pete says, what makes me laugh is the fact that people who say the big parties have failed and shouldn't be trusted come from them in the first place. Yeah, that's right. Don't trust them. Blackburn. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Paul.
Hello, Nick. I've got a suggestion. We could end all this political chaos.
Yes.
Yeah. Very controversial, this.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Here we go. Yeah. We could have a general election, and all them that are in Parliament now, we could show them they're useless by not letting them stand in the next election.
By not letting them stand in the next election?
In other words, we're bringing all new people, all new ideas.
Oh, my
people
God.
preferably that know something about life.
Well, so, so this would be the B team then, because presumably we've got the A team now, and look at the state of the place.
I know, it's a mess, isn't it?
So we're going to have to get the people, like a bunch of rejects.
Well, no, I'm not thinking of a bunch of rejects. I'm thinking of people that have faced adversity in life.
That have faced adversity?
Yeah, adversity, like homelessness.
Would they be actually the best people to run the country, people who have failed for one reason or another in life?
But have they failed, or have they failed because society hasn't been supportive?
I am firmly of the belief that most of success in life is down to luck. And if you are a homeless person, then it is probably because you have been subject to worse luck than somebody who would stride by thinking that they are successful because of their own innate genius. But that's luck too. However, I'm not sure that it would be the best thing for the country to take advice from homeless people just because they've had bad luck.
What about people that, have struggled to bring up families on low incomes and stuff like that? At least it will put the caring element into managing the country.
Well, I think that those people should have their voices heard, but not necessarily be part of running the country. I'm going to say something controversial now, Paul.
Oh, no.
Yes, get ready and grip onto something firm.
Yeah, go on.
Taking out the luck part, which is the factor that differentiates success from failure with most people. I firmly believe that luck is most of life. But if you take that constant out of the equation, it is possible, is it not, that if you are more successful, then it's likelier than not that you are more intelligent. Does success in, outside of physical success, outside of being footballers, because nobody has ever accused a footballer of being intelligent. I think you'll find that's correct.
That's true.
I mean, just the way they speak would tell you everything you need to know. Oh, the lad's done great, it's all credit to the lads, and the lad's done great, and it's all credit to them. That's all they say.
Yeah.
So if you take the physical success part, the sports persons out, business people and people who've got along in office environments and all the rest of it, they use their brains, Paul, then it's quite likely that the more successful you are, the more intelligent you are. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, to some extent.
To some extent,
I mean, I don't class myself as intelligent, really.
Well, I don't. If it helps, I don't.
I'm thinking about these things and trying to, sort out in my head the world's problems. But I'll never succeed. I know that. But I just think that we need people who actually work on managing the country to the best for everyone, including supporting the most disadvantaged in our society, which
Yes.
this government is failing to do.
That is quite possibly
people
true.
with learning disabilities and stuff like that, and they are now being resettled from hospitals, but the support services out there are really bad.
Well, they're non-existent in a lot of cases, but partly because of the A word, austerity, and that's partly because of the giant hole that the bankers have put us in that we still haven't got out of yet. We haven't climbed an inch out of that hole yet in all this time. All right, thanks a lot, Paul. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Phil says, MPs who leave their party and refused to put themselves up for by-election have one thing in common. Cowardice! ! How is leaving going to fix whatever they're complaining about? A bit like Brexit, really. And Fran says, who is funding TIG? Do you think that Tony Blair could be lurking in the background? Any foreign government? Oh, it's not Vlad the Insaner, is it? Well, you may be funding them. They certainly have offered to allow you to do that. If you go on their website, it has a donation page, and they've filled out some suggestions for your donation. They start at £5, which seems very reasonable. But I don't know what you get for £5. A warm feeling, which increases in temperature the more you give, presumably. Right up to £7,500, for which you get a mention. You get a shout-out. I'll give you a shout-out for nothing. How does that sound? Glasgow. Hello, Scott.
Yeah, hello, Nick.
Scott.
When's the last time a new political, I'll say party in the loosest term, when's the last time a new political party entered the House of Commons, took their seats, and then took a selfie? I mean, what the hell? It's like invasion of the body snatch. It's like the Stepford Wives. No one's saying a damn word about that.
Are you talking about the SNPists?
I'm talking, you know what I'm talking about. The Tigwig Tigs, you know. They can't just enter the House of Commons and take a selfie. It's mad. And how the hell is a registered company sitting in our House of Commons taking money from a public purse under false pretences, because they're not on their respective parties now, taking money under false pretences, and then being funded by who knows who for who knows what?
Well, you could say that about all. You could say that about all political parties. I mean, there was a fellow.
No. Agreed, you can. Agreed, Nick. Sorry, agreed, you can. Yes. But if they get found to be taking money, which they shouldn't do, there are certain rules. Okay, those rules get broken. Have they got to hide what they're doing? This party.
Well, but wait a minute. You're throwing around accusations about something that they may be. If they're guilty of something, then they should be subject to the full majesty of the law.
That's exactly my point. They cannot be held up for anything because they're a company, not a party. How can a company? I agree with exactly.
What do you mean by a company?
They're a registered company. They're not a party. They're not affiliated to their respective Tory, Labour original posts, which they're still taking money for. They're not affiliated. So they're not answering to them. They're answering to someone else, who knows who else, but they're still affecting laws. But because they're a registered company, they're not abiding by any of the laws that a political party have to abide by. And correctly, as you point out, they have obviously, got around that one way or the other. But they have to actually abide by them. Whether they try and get round them and then they end up in court, hopefully, which they hardly ever do. But this particular group now, this group of 11, who knows how many more it will be, they're not abiding by any of the rules in Parliament now.
Well, of course they are. They're abiding by all of the rules that govern MPs' conduct in Parliament. Irrespective of which party it is they belong to.
Well, that's my point. Who do they belong to now?
Well, they belong to themselves. They belong to all of us, Scott. Yeah, I'm going to have to go because I'm past the break, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Just past 11:30 on LBC, the news headlines with Zora Sullivan.
It's claimed 3 cabinet ministers have...
850.
Yeah! Dude! Chris says this group of MPs have done everything they can to destroy democracy and overturn the referendum result and the will of 17.4 million people, who have come up with 17.4 million different reasons that they voted out. Some of which were written on a bus. This tweet says, blimey, MPs trying to steal ground from the Fib Dems. Guess what? It's quicksand. Mal says, these jump shippers may well have joined the Lib Dems. Next election, all their political careers are over. Oh, they'll probably jump ship again or go get another job. I wouldn't be at all surprised if many of them already had another job, which seems like a blooming outrage to me. I mean, we're paying them the big money to act on our behalf. And then we come to find out that they're actually taking even more money from another group of people. So whose interests do you think they represent? I mean, I know it's unpopular to even contemplate it, but perhaps we should pay them a little bit more and then refuse to allow them any outside interests. And in case they get any ideas about feathering their nests after they leave by voting one way or the other on various issues that might affect their subsequent employers, perhaps we should ban them from getting any job of any kind for the rest of their lives. They should do their service for us, and then when we finish with them, we should lock them up. Who's with me? I read that. Christopher says, God, blimey, this is a long one. Is this worth reading?
I'd say so.
Christopher says, if you vote for the party, you get a party stooge, and they're the worst. I always vote for the individual. I'd rather have Anna Soubry as my MP because I know what she stands for. Her old party has turned into UKIP since people voted for her as a Tory in the last election. My MP, who I didn't vote for, is a party stooge who changes whichever way she's whipped. On the eve of the referendum, I got an email from her saying what a disaster Brexit would be. Now she's all for it, the hypocritical coward. I think all MPs should be independent. I am. My views have never aligned with any single party, says Christopher. Blimey, it was a screed. You're going to put that in a pamphlet, mate. All MPs should be independent, I think, is the shortened version of that. And, I don't know. I think there's some justification for MPs aligning with one another after a shared goal. But I'm also for coalitions. I mean, there's so many countries that we respect that are run by coalitions that seem to be doing perfectly well. Why can't that work here? It seems by that method you would represent more of the people more of the time. But, what do I know? Red Hill. Hello, Vivian.
Oh, good evening. Well, hey, thanks for having us on your show, Nick. It's all been a positive week for Brexit. How have you been?
Great, mate.
Excellent.
Up to this point, anyway.
Well, I try not to ruin your great show so far. You've had some great callers, and I loved some of the points you were making earlier about, representation and how, we could possibly be paying the MPs more. Paying more, and then you get less corruption, yeah? Sounds like a good plan to me.
Well, it's possible. Really, I don't think the one necessarily follows the other, but it's possible.
Well, you come up with a great point. Maybe you should just do all politics on your show, really. Make a better idea. Or maybe have a couple more radio stations, have a big sort of televised radio debate or something, get it all bashed out in a couple of hour-long sessions. Well, but I was just going to talk about mitigation strategies. We're obviously facing the no deal coming up, which is very exciting for everyone. And so you're looking at the European Union reacting to the UK taking over control of its public subsidies and its internal policies. So obviously we're looking at how they're going to react and what they're going to throw at us, what kind of average or mean tariff they're going to throw our way. So a lot of discussion was about the Morocco 85% tariff. So we'd be having to, our goods would cost 85% more around the world or to European trade partners, which would be, on its face value quite a problem considering the amount of, tariff exposure we'd have. So obviously we've done a few little bit of maths. I'm not specifically a mathematician. I haven't got GCSE. I think I've got a GCSE in maths.
You think?
But it's not. I think I have. I can't tell you for sure. I couldn't tell you for sure. It's a long time since I've looked at my GCSEs. But as I say, it's not. I mean, I've only picked this stuff up from stuff my old dear was chatting about in the 90s, So I wouldn't know what she's talking about. It's just that when you hear so much people like Juncker being nasty about the people that started this movement, like Mark Deere, yeah, basically it's telling them that they're going to go to hell, they didn't have a plan and all that, it gets upsetting for us. So we have to call in every once in a while, mate, and I really appreciate you giving us the 5 minutes.
5?
But I was just wondering for yourself, one for yourself, Nick.
I haven't signed up for 5. Let's see if we can get to 3.
Duty and tax reforms, okay, so where are we looking at duty and tax reforms, okay, so we're looking at like £220 billion in the informal economy, and we've got 165 tariff exposure, 165 billion in exposure for our exports, export tariff exposure. So we've got 220 billion in the informal economy. So I'm looking at the price of an eighth of marijuana is going to probably remain static if we imply duty reforms on these drugs. So cocaine, marijuana, these obvious money spinners that we could definitely compensate for any amount of tariffs, even an 85% tariff from the EU, we'd pretty much be able to cover.
All right, so now it's becoming clear. What you're saying is for any loss that we incur from Brexit, we could legalise all drugs and reap the rewards. And prostitution.
Yeah, drugs and prostitution, of course, these would be obvious. Obviously, taking duty reform, maybe even a 10% tax break on the informal economy. There's a lot of boys out there working in vans every day that can't properly, legitimately claim an income because they're under a threshold of, and they can't get employed higher because of the the regulations on employment. If we liberalised the employment regulation, there wouldn't be so many boys out there working off the books. That informal economy, we could get some tax revenue out of that, even if we just broke it down at 10%. This is billions and billions of pounds. We've got £300 billion in mitigations there.
Okay, all right. Well, put it in an email for me, Vivian. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, I think I get the message. This text says the new Party of 11 should be called the European Party of Great Britain. Steve says if the TIG called themselves the Centre Party, they could have been the TCP. Another slogan, we can heal you and politics. Yeah, of course, it smells awful.
Disgusting.
Frank says Frank Spencer would make a great defence minister. He would definitely frighten Putin. And on that subject, this text says Gavin Williamson has done a lot more with his life than you've done with yours. What's that got to do with anything? How is that man a defence secretary? Someone explain that to me, I double dare you. What is his field of expertise? Gavin Williamson. I mean, if you look at Russia's defence people, I don't know what the Russian defence secretary actually looks like, but I do know that Vladimir Putin introduced somebody as a defence, I can't remember the exact title, but it was somebody that does defence for Russia. And you just took one look at him and thought, I'll not mess with Russia. But you look at Gavin Williamson and you think, well, why not? Mr. McGrumpy says, on February the 22nd, 1897, it was 17.9 centigrade. That wasn't global warming. How do you know that on February the 22nd, 1897, it was 17.9 degrees centigrade? And even if it was, what difference does that make? That's weather, not climate. Ugh, we're still trying to get that through to people. Painful. I think that what I don't understand about this global warming, the climate change thing, is why people on the right have decided that they don't believe in that. We've seen, I mentioned this the other week, we've seemed to have divided ourselves down the middle, this new political party notwithstanding. And those on the right, just whatever the issue is, you don't have to even tell them what the issue is. Regardless of what it is that you're talking about, my belief is the most far-right, extreme version of beliefs that are possible. You don't even need to tell me what you're talking about. I don't know what the subject is, but it doesn't prevent me from having a strong opinion. It's basically whatever Donald Trump says. And you'd really have to be out your mind to believe a numpty like that.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
He thinks that global warming doesn't exist because it's chilly out. But I don't believe that he thinks that. I don't believe that he believes that. And I find it difficult to believe that people who say that global warming isn't a thing because it's cold or because it once was warmer, I just don't buy that they believe that. I think that they don't believe it because it's the right-wing thing to say. I think it's got to that point now. And it happened really quickly. I don't think we were talking like this even a couple of years ago. But now it seems to be the way. Whatever the topic of the discussion, I'm a right-wing person, so I think the most right-wing thing you can imagine about that issue. Global warming is not happening because it was once warmer, because scientists once got something wrong. And as I said before, it's very easy to claim that you can dismiss all science because scientists once got something wrong, but those very same people will be all for science if they present themselves at hospital with something wrong with them. Suddenly then, science is just the very thing. Global warming isn't a thing. The reason why people don't accept or pretend not to accept that global warming is happening is because they don't want to change their lives. They don't want to take responsibility for what it is that they're doing. Nobody does. Not really. The human race has not developed above the age of a 3-month-old. We want instant gratification, not prepared to wait 1 second to be gratified in every way, shape and form. So we will not suffer now to reap the benefits in a year or a few years or 10 or 20 years. We want to just carry on regardless, even though 99% of the scientists on Earth who have looked at this issue say that we're heading for disaster unless we change our ways right now. We just say, oh no, it's not going to happen because it hasn't happened yet. I hope that they find life on Mars, and I hope it's intelligent life, because we ain't found none down here. 0345 6060 973, Friday and Saturday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
LBC at the weekend. Andrew.
Would you mind telling me what this is all about?
No. I'll get back to you. 0345 6060 973. Peter says, I know as a Brexiteer I shouldn't believe in facts, but to convert centigrade to Fahrenheit, you double the number, take off 10%, and then add 32. Oh, blimey. That sounds like homework. I'm not doing that. I'll just guess. If you say it out loud, it becomes a fact these days. Haven't you heard? AJ says, choose MPs like they choose jury members. How do they choose jury members? You just get a note in the post, don't you? Guess what? You're a jury member.
Oh, no.
Andy says they used to say that MPs having other jobs kept them in touch with the real world. Well, yes, but I think they're supposed to have a job before they become an MP and then concentrate their efforts on, running the country and representing their constituents, not having another job at the same time. Let's have a call in Richmond. Chris.
Good evening, Nick.
Chris.
Well, I think the most interesting bit this week has been just the scale of denial from people like Jeremy Corbyn. Tonight he was sort of saying, "Oh, there's no bullying, there's no nastiness," and at the same time you've got people like Chris Williamson, basically slating and berating every Labour MP that's left. And this is the same Chris Williamson that has defended what's going on in Venezuela. That is British politics on the left in this country today.
So are you saying that is not representative of the right?
No, I mean, I'm a Liberal Democrat. I mean, I am appalled at the state of the Tories at the moment. I'm not a Tory voter. I've voted Liberal Democrat in every single election since I was 18. I think the government at the moment it's become anti-immigrant. I think Anna Soup is quite right. I'm delighted that Heidi Allen, who I've known for a long time. Well, you say they're
anti-immigrant, but under her leadership, immigration has not gone down, even from especially from the areas of the world that we have complete control over. It's gone up under her control. So they don't seem to be anti-immigrant.
Well, maybe if you look at numbers, but come on, look at Windrush, look at the percentage of people from the European Union. 20-something% of European Union applicants had their looking for permanent residency had their applications rejected, woman deported back to Singapore after 30-odd years of being housed.
Yeah, but you said if you look at the numbers, that might be true. But what else? I mean, apart from individual instances that have received a lot of publicity, and this latest thing with that dopey woman who went to join ISIS.
Yeah, but that's a case apart, I think. I don't think you can... I mean, that's just a separate case.
Well, it is, yes, but I'm saying that because it is also something that's gained a lot of publicity and makes it appear as though the party is heading in one direction, whereas the truth is they're actually heading in the opposite direction.
Well, I disagree with you. I completely disagree with you. I mean, this is a person that said that she didn't want freedom of movement to continue. My wife is an EU national. She's in this country because she came to study, and then we got married, and she wants to get rid of that. And I don't.
But saying it is one thing; doing it is another. I mean, what they say is not what they're doing.
Well, if things continue as they are, freedom of movement will end in 5 weeks' time.
I don't believe that. Do you?
Well, I mean, I'm talking if things continue. I hope they don't continue, but that is what she wants. Vince Cable...
I'm not sure, but it isn't what she wants. It might be what she says in order to placate those that are shouting the loudest, but it's not what the government is actually doing. Don't listen to what they say. Look at what they do.
Well, yes, I mean, look, it's all to play for, isn't it? But fundamentally, the Conservative Party, as it stands, has committed to leaving the single market, which, as you and I know, means the end of free movement. Correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as she can't negotiate her way out of it. But ending free movement and stopping immigration from Europe are not necessarily the same two things, because we can voluntarily, unilaterally open our borders to whoever we like. Assuming that...
But she set a target.
Well, yeah, but okay, yeah, but
let's be honest.
They're never going to get that. They're so far off that you might as well just forget that.
Well, they can have it, but it will basically destroy NHS recruitment.
Well, precisely. And she must know that. She and the other people who are shouting loudly must know all that. Well, they do know all that. And so they're not going to do what they say on that score. They're just trying to placate people who are screaming at them. That's all. They just want them to shut up.
Which is why three of the more sensible, pragmatic MPs who I have a lot of respect for, handed their notice in this week, and good on them, as far as I'm concerned.
I wish them the best of luck, but I don't think it's going to change much.
Well, why do you say that, though? I think it might, actually. I think it will change a lot. To
well, three people leaving is going to change the course of the party.
Well, another 3 cabinet members have come out today. Look, if more come, technically, as someone in the Independent, I think Sean O'Grady, Deputy Editor of the Independent, said technically, the government essentially 3 more defections and the government is in the minority, even with the DUP.
Okay, so the country gets to vote again, and by most polls, the result will be more or less what we've got now. But what would be the point?
Well, whether people want to call it a general election, all I'm saying is the government at the moment cannot get any business through other than Brexit-related business.
Yeah. Well, it's sucked all the oxygen out of the room. It's the only thing they can think about, because it's the only thing that they've got the man and woman power to deal with.
Well, but equally, they could, if they wanted to, they could cancel the whole thing tomorrow, if that's what Theresa May... Well, Theresa May didn't believe in, as you completely correctly said a minute ago, Theresa May doesn't believe in this. She's doing something. She's only doing it because she believes she has to, because, frankly, she's more concerned about splitting her party.
But do you not feel that as a country, we're walking down the corridor of insanity, but nobody can say, hang on a minute, let's just not go any further down this route, because this just is madness. Nobody can say that, because we've got a crowd of people behind us who are screaming at us to go faster.
Well, my MP happens to be the Liberal Democrats, and all the Dem MPs and many Labour MPs and even Tories have said that for months, but she's got a tin ear. She just doesn't want to hear it, because she is like the Pied Piper that is prepared. She is that insanely... I think the other problem, Nick, is she's incredibly stubborn.
Who, Theresa May? Are we still talking about Theresa May?
Yeah, I think she's incredibly stubborn.
Well, I mean, it takes a certain amount of stubbornness to negotiate something as complicated as this, because there is elements of stubbornness on the other side as well. I mean, that's just part of negotiating, isn't it? I just get the feeling that at the last minute, we're going to get more or less what we want, and the European Union are going to get more or less what they want, and will take some kind of success, snatch it from the jaws of catastrophe, and we'll just muddle along.
I think that is a very plausible scenario, but I think it'll only happen subject to the people having a vote on it. Because I think you're right.
A second referendum.
Yeah, I do.
I just can't see it. It saddens me to say it, but I do think that this country is now genuinely run by whoever shouts the loudest. And I think that people are so furious, so on the edge of their seat to start screaming about it, that I think the people who are running the country, they just don't want the hassle. It's almost like placating a child in the supermarket who throws themselves to the ground because mummy won't buy her any chocolate, or him. And Mum just capitulates and says, "Oh, all right then, just stop screaming." I think that's where we're at now. Thanks, Chris. Stop screaming. 0345 6060 973. Friday and Saturday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
On your...
What the hell is going on?
He was given brown sugar. What, the single? Greatest rock single ever.
Rock and roll!
Any fool know that. M says, could you ask the Tigs what they mean by centre ground politics and what other people think it means? Well, it's vague. Just by its very definition, it's vague. Just like all of their other announcements. Go to their website and see if you can find anything specific on it. I double dare you. Frank says, I would really be interested to see the new Tiggy Winkle policies. I don't know what that means. Jim says, when Churchill crossed the floor to join the Liberals, he didn't put himself up for re-election in a by-election. Yeah, Churchill stopped being a Conservative and decided to become a Liberal. No, don't do it, Winnie. It ain't worth it. Putney. Hello, Oliver.
Hi there.
Oliver.
Yeah, I was just agreeing with what you said about, I think about an hour ago, that you've never seen an attack like this on a political leader.
Uncle Jezza?
Yeah, Jezza. It's extraordinary. When he got in, I knew he was going to get a shellacking, but this is something else.
It really is.
It's absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah.
And so we've got that going on, and we've got Brexit. Yeah, I think actually it all goes back to the 70s. Britain joined the European Union. That was put to bed. Thatcher came in, and there was the purge of the left during the 80s. Everything was cushy during the 90s with the European Union. Tony Blair in power, and then out of nowhere, Jeremy Corbyn gets into power in Labour, and we're leaving the European Union, and it's just causing chaos.
Yeah, and it all started going wrong when David Bowie died. Thanks a lot, David Bowie.
2016. Yeah, that was the year. Yeah, Brexit, Trump, and before that, Corbyn. And they can't get rid of him.
Try as they might, yeah.
They tried. They did 2016, just after Brexit. They tried to get rid of him. Didn't work. Then the entire establishment went after him in 2017 with Theresa May.
He seems to be indestructible.
Indestructible. And these guys who just left, they're in for a rude awakening. They're going to go nowhere. They're going nowhere. The real crisis in the Tories is the left have come back in Labour, but you've got like real right wingers, UKIP insurgency within the Tories taking over that party.
Well, I'm not sure I don't know about the UKIP insurgency who's taken over the party, but the far right, the Ergs, do seem to be taking over that party. Yeah, but they're the ones that are shouting the loudest on the right, and they appear to be getting their way. But there's also people who are shouting the loudest on the left. And
no. I think Jeremy Corbyn didn't put. When you hear people saying he's hard left, the 2017 manifesto by Labour was quite centre left. It wasn't anything extraordinary.
Well, I know. I mean, I did read it, and his proposals were things that most people actually agreed with. I think there was a newspaper, it may have been The Independent, who at the time did a poll and asked people, without telling them who proposed these various policies, whether they agreed with them or not. And in almost every, or rather in every instance, the majority of people who were polled said, yes, I do agree with things like renationalising the railways, for instance, or increasing the minimum wage, or stuff like that. I mean, it wasn't extremist stuff.
No, it was all since he got in. There's been all this hyperbole, all this hysteria that he's a communist, whatever. What he's put forward is quite reasonable. Yeah, and the establishment deluded themselves, saying when he went to that 2017 election, they were going to get wiped out. So they were 20 points ahead. It all got proved to be a lie, complete lie. He's still there standing, and these guys who have just left, they're going to be left in the dust. They're not. The thing is, the Labour right, they're finished.
Well, the problem with all of that is he actually electable as a Prime Minister? And
of course he is.
Well, if that's true, if he is electable as a Prime Minister, you'd think that with the Conservative Party having been in power for such a long time...
No, you're going to mention the polls, Nick, aren't you? You're going to mention the polls.
I'm not going to mention the polls. I mean, I will if you want, but I won't. If after all of this time, after the problems that we've been going through and are currently going through at the moment, after all of this, you'd think that they would be more popular. All right, I am mentioning the polls. They'd be more popular than they are, but they aren't.
Yeah, well,
they're going nowhere.
No. Listen, this trick was tried in 2017. Before that, he can't win. He's not a winner. They didn't take him seriously. They went for the election. Don't forget, that election was cut by 10 days of the 2 terrorist attacks. If it had gone on for 2 weeks longer, he would have won.
Yeah? Well, that's you've got absolutely no justification in saying that. You might have hoped that he would have won, but you don't know that that's true.
Well, okay, maybe we don't know if it's true, but you're coming back with this same lie.
But by saying that, you're suggesting that polling is untrue. That polling companies are lying to us.
No. What happened before the 2017 election? There was an all-out attack on Corbyn. During the election, they had to give fair press coverage, and he campaigned well. Yeah, he didn't get wiped out. Now this whole process is starting up again, and they're going all out for it with the anti-Semitism. This, that, and the other.
Yes, but I bring us back to the polling, though. If he was electable, he should be further ahead than he is at the moment in the polls.
No, absolute nonsense. If they really believed they could beat Corbyn, these guys would leave their constituents, would leave the Labour Party and go for an election, just like those UKIP, just like the Conservatives did, for the UKIPs. They didn't do that. If the Tories are so confident beating Corbyn now, should go for another election, but they know they'll get wiped out.
Well, that's neither here. But their confidence is neither here nor there. Poll after poll after poll suggests that Labour and the Conservatives are either well, they're more or less neck and neck, which should not be the case now. The Labour Party, or whoever is the main opposition to a government that is running the catastrophe that we're currently going through at the moment, with all of their various problems associated with it, they should be way ahead, the opposition.
Nick, one question, hand on heart, live on radio, yeah? If there was an election tomorrow,
yes.
Yeah, who do you think would win? If there was an election tomorrow, who would win?
Well, I actually think that the Conservatives would probably scrape
come
it.
On, mate.
I think they'd scrape it.
No chance. Corbyn would wipe them out.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
Wipe them out.
All right. Well, I guess we won't find out until next time. I'll see you at the polling booth. Cheers, Oliver. 0345 6060 973. I'll bring my own pencil. This tweet says, we should make them all bake cakes for us at the village fete, and the nicest wins. Well, that sounds like a good idea. I like cake. And this says, I got drunk on Wednesday and I put £10 at 100 to 1 on Vince Cable for the next Prime Minister. Well, you can wave goodbye to that. At least you won't have the problem of wondering what to do with your £10. And certainly not your winnings. 0345 6060 973. So anyway, back to the Brexit negotiations with Jean-Claude Juncker. You remember him, don't you? No! Yes. He said, Brexit is deconstruction, not construction. Brexit's the past, it's not the future, he said. If a no deal would happen, this would have terrible economic and social consequences both in Britain and on the continent, and so my efforts orient in a way that the worst can be avoided. Blimey, he speaks English good, doesn't he? He says, but I'm not very optimistic when it comes to this issue. Meanwhile, the Conservative Party have finally united in their belief that they don't unite on anything. They have failed to properly prepare Britain for a no deal. And Michael Gove is at Philip Hammond's throat. They failed to properly prepare Britain for a no deal, said the Environment Secretary to the Chancellor. Which is, I assume that's a joke, or at least an understatement, because to my eye there hasn't been any preparations at all, other than crossing their fingers and assuming that everything will be all right. Let's all hold hands and close our eyes and run into traffic. I'm sure everything will be fine. And Philip Hammond insisted that the government had taken the necessary precautions. Really? Really? Like what? Name one precaution that's been taken. OK, they've locked David Cameron in his shed so he can't do any more damage. But apart from that, anything?
No.
I mean, they've stockpiled stuff, but that's just in a last desperate attempt to avoid a potential catastrophe. It's not like they thought about that a year ago. They've only just done it. And what precisely it is that they've stockpiled, well, we don't have any idea. Brie. Two sources told the Telegraph that there had been a heated row between Mr. Hammond and Mr. Gove. Go on, Phil, kill him. I'm sorry, got a little carried away there. Somewhat lost my mind for a moment. Don't do it, Phil, it ain't worth it. Michael Gove said to have raised concerns about whether there will be enough ferry capacity to transport food and medicines in the event of a no-deal Brexit, and I expect the answer is no.
Yes.
Considering they were so desperate that they entered into a contract to provide ferry services with a company that doesn't have ferries. And that, unless something has happened that I'm unaware of, no ferry company seems inclined to associate itself with this situation, because we might look unkindly on any company that we can blame for the calamity that awaits us. That's possible. I'm not saying that is the reason, but it's possible. The Chancellor described Brexit as a large black cloud hanging over the UK economy, which is distracting government from its domestic priorities, which I think is treasonable talk, as any fool know that Brexit is in fact our glorious escape from the clutches of our evil European overlords, and things have never looked better than where we are now. Or whatever Jacob Rees-Mogg said last. Asked if a no-deal Brexit would be in the UK's best interest, Chancellor Phil said, I have been crystal clear on this for the last 2.5 years. That is what I am working for all day, every day, and so long as I believe I am able to influence that outcome and help us get a good outcome here, which will protect British jobs and British prosperity, that is what I will go on doing. I think after a while they all start to speak the same, like police persons. It was preaching, so I speak from a northerly direction. That's police persons, but politicians always say, I have been working for the best interests of the country, and I am working for the best interests of the country, and I will continue to work for the best interests of the country in the future. It's the rule of threes. But the leading Brexiteer ultras couldn't disagree more. That what is best for the country is to avoid a no-deal at all costs. And they yelled as much, did the fundamentalist Brexiteers, over the sound of the engines of their yachts parked off the coast of Monaco. They've left and are still trying to direct the ship. And we're still not missing you, by the way, but we are missing your money, you tax exiles. We could have used those taxes to hire nurses and buy hospital beds, but you ran off to make sure you can keep all of your billions. Still, if that's what makes you happy, we'll just stay here and try to keep on as best we can. Don't worry about us. Oh, you weren't. And never mind the fact that taxpayers paid for your NHS treatment and the treatment of the workers who made your riches possible, and the roads you used to deliver your goods on, and the police that kept order so you could go about making the money that you now are squirreling away in tax havens. Don't give it a second's thought. Oh, you haven't? Well, that's all right then. 0345 6060 973, Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC.
Apparently, there is still...
Care what this guy thinks?
No!
Jack in Manchester says, egg and spoon race for the leader. Egg and spoon race for leader contest, is what he says. Sounds like a listener with material. Anthony in Greenwich says, Jeremy Corbyn, reasonable. Supporting the provisional IRA and the current Venezuelan leader, reasonable. Anti-Semitism, reasonable. Corbyn will never be PM. Thank God, he says. Here's Paul. Jan.
Hi, Nick.
Jan.
Well, I'm pleased to confirm that Brown Sugar is the greatest record ever made.
It's the greatest single that has ever been made.
Rock and roll!
And that is a fact, yes.
But I'm afraid I cannot agree with you on another subject, and that subject is goldfinches.
What?
I recall, 2-3 months ago, you announcing that you'd evicted all the goldfinches from your garden because of the mess they were making.
I didn't evict them, I just changed the food that I was putting out for the birds.
You starved them out.
No.
Right? Now, I'm a man who owns a 2-storey, 4-hole bird feeder.
Oh, what?
A 2-storey, 4-holer, which is permanently full of sunflower seed and a permanent flock of goldfinches. And every time I go out there, I think to myself, I wonder how those goldfinches are doing that he starved out of his garden.
Yes, cruelly.
While he sat behind the window there with a cup of coffee and probably a fancy French croissant. And they're down the bloody local food bank with their beaks agape.
Yes.
Saying, give us something, we've been evicted. Have you relented?
I think you missed that. Cruelly evicted.
Cruelly evicted indeed. Have you relented on this one? Are they back?
Well, no. I've put out fat balls, which are as disgusting as they sound.
Now, that's fine for the blue tits.
No, it isn't, because no bird is eating them. They just flat out refuse to eat them. They're being disintegrated by rain and wind.
Are these decent quality fat balls or pound shop stuff?
They taste fantastic, Jan.
They do. Because I've used various types of fat ball in my time. In fact, I'm a bit of a fat ball connoisseur.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's nothing wrong with the fat balls, have you got angry-looking feral cats prowling around your garden?
No. I would say, though, that the fat balls are last year's issue.
Aha. Now...
Well, they don't go off, do they?
I think you might have... Well, I think they do, because I have, on occasion, attempted to economise a bit on them, and I've bought ones which I think have been in stock for far too long, and they're like concrete. I have to break them up with a knife.
Right.
I tell you what, with fat balls, squirrels like them.
Well, I've got them in anti-squirrel cages.
Sort of cages. So you've laid out good money on these cages.
Huge amounts.
And you look out your window and there's absolutely nothing happening.
Nothing.
But you'd rather have that than have a flock of black and gold and white goldfinches fluttering round and knocking back the...
Well, they are very entertaining, there's no doubt about it. They're the brightest thing in the garden, without exception. But they're just pigs. They just sit on the perches and they just eat and eat and eat. Every other bird flies in, takes one seed and then flies away. But the finches, they just take up residence.
Some of these birds have got to eat half their body weight in a day to keep going.
Well, I can't afford to keep...
Like that,
I can't afford to keep up.
Well, I don't know what the solution to this is, but it's a permanent worry for me down here.
What about, can I substitute... And I really don't want to go down this road because it just sounds appalling. But can I give them dead worm bits?
Mealworms?
Yes.
Robins love mealworms. And I think a goldfinch might well not turn its beak up at a mealworm. Most things seem to like them, and they're very nice things to handle.
Now, you said that there was perhaps an issue with me being cheap and buying...
I did hint at it.
Insufficiently excellent fat balls.
Yeah.
Well, how much have you got to spend on these blooming birds?
Well, myself, I buy in bulk.
Yes. Well, that's what I did, and I couldn't give them away last year. So they spent the year in a sealed box, and then I took them out, and they don't want them no more.
Yeah. You see, imagine if you bought a packet of cheese last year and put it away in a sealed box for a year.
I like
and
cheese.
You go home and you think, I'll have a nice Welsh rarebit or a toasted cheese or whatever.
Mm.
I think you might kind of run into the same problem. But
I'm
not presented correctly.
I don't have to eat half of my body weight every day, and I'm not a bird.
Yeah, but they do, you know, and they haven't really got any choice.
No, but they do though. They must have a choice.
Where do you think they've gone?
I've got no idea. They fly in gangs like some malevolent group.
So you just kick the can down the road, in effect.
Well, they've gone somewhere else. I'm sure I haven't killed them all. But
no, you probably haven't killed them all. They're probably just foraging like maniacs, trying to get a freebie somewhere.
Well, that's what birds do, isn't it?
A lot of them do, but it's up to us to give them a hand during the cold winter months. They're stocking up.
Well, it's not like I've not done my bit. I've spent about £100 on various squirrel-proofing equipment and the stuff that goes in them.
Well, I mean, I should be back to you on this one. I think the answer is to dispose of these cut-price fat balls that you got from the market,
right?
Which probably fell off a lorry somewhere, and to invest in some decent quality ones, which when you test them with your thumbnail, there's a little bit of give in them. There's a little bit of grease comes out, you know, there's a bit of nutrition in there.
No, we're talking about the balls, not the birds.
The fat balls. No, I wouldn't try and handle the birds. That can have ugly results.
Yeah.
They will defend themselves.
Well, so will I.
You know, I mean, you would if you lived in the wild. You've got cats below you and a sparrowhawk above you.
Yeah, every now and again there's a pile of feathers on my lawn, which I find a little bit disturbing.
Is there? Sounds like a sparrowhawk in the neighbourhood.
No, not a sparrow. I've seen a sparrowhawk go about its business once. It was like, get David Attenborough on the phone and he can explain it to us. God, it was really alarming. Yeah. This thing that looked like it was from Jurassic Park was on my lawn, just ripping a pigeon apart. And it took about half an hour. And I went down there afterwards once it had gone, and there was absolutely nothing left. There was barely even a feather left.
This is it, nature red in tooth and claw, you see.
Exactly.
I mean, the current political situation and the situation you've described seem very similar to me.
Yeah, you tried giving a fat ball to a hawk, probably kill you.
I'd laugh at you. They want flesh. They're like Wisnail with that gun in that film.
Yeah. You can't.
I want something's flesh.
You can't advertise vegan lifestyle to a sparrowhawk.
It will look through you. I think a vegan would run a mile if it saw a sparrowhawk or a peregrine falcon at work.
No, but I think that the piles of feathers are cat-related.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's nothing much really you can do about that.
No, not really. I thought about investing in one of those high-powered water squirter guns.
Yeah, I think that is probably the most humane way to deal with cats.
And taking up a position in the garden. But, you know, I can't be there 24 hours a day.
What a sort of sniper.
Yeah, exactly.
Laying flat.
Yeah. I mean, if only I could come to some arrangement with the blackbirds, because those are the ones that I'm concerned about the most. I mean, pigeons, I'm not really that bothered. I mean, I know it's not nice, but I'm not that bothered about pigeons. But if the cats start eating the blackbirds, then that's the line that I draw.
The Super Soaker gun. Right. Well, I'm slightly heartened to hear that you've got your squirrel-proof fat ball thing out.
Yes.
And I think if you're prepared to invest in a little bit better quality product, can I suggest Little Peckers?
No.
All right. Their product is remarkably good. And that you'll have a bit more luck with the balls, but I do think you should reconsider about those goldfinches. They are a constant worry to me, even though I've never met them.
Right, okay, well, I'll pass your concerns on. If I ever see them again.
And Brown Sugar is the greatest record.
It's the greatest record ever.
Rock and roll!
Hello.
All right.
Good evening.
Thanks
to
a
you,
lot,
sir.
Jan. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Did that have anything to do with what we're talking about?
No.
But we're just discussing the issues here. Anne says, has anybody seen Boris recently? Where's he hiding? Speaking of fat balls.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And Jim says, why don't we quickly bring back Bozo from the FO? He's the only one who can save us. Ugh. If he is the only one that can save us, then we're really in trouble. Things are worse than I thought. This looks like a job for Super Boris. Oh, please. Let me remind you about my podcast. My Super Soaraway podcast is available right now on the internet. And you can get it on the Global Player app if you have an Apple device. If you're on Android, then at the moment it's available wherever they give away excellent podcasts. And I think you will be delighted. In this current one, Donald Trump goes behind a curtain and takes off all of his clothes. Yes. You'll find it wherever they give away excellent podcasts, and it's called The Nick Abbot Habit. Ask for it by name. The Nick Abbot Habit is my podcast, available right now. It's 12:30 on LBC, the news headlines with Zora Suleiman.
It's claimed 3 cabinet ministers have promised...
Please hold the line. I'm trying to connect you.
Yes, I'm trying to connect a caller in Dagenham. Julian?
Yes, I'm here.
Julian?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I just want to respond to your previous Labour Party supporter who was claiming that Jeremy Corbyn's going to win the next election. Well, he couldn't win against Theresa May when she ran the worst campaign I can ever remember.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, that was sort of underlining my point. He should be way ahead by now, or the Labour Party should be.
And that's also with a constituency boundary changes that never took place, which were in favour. So the current system is actually in favour of Labour anyway, and he still couldn't win.
Well, I think the problem that they have is that the defining issue of the moment is Brexit, and they don't stand apart from the Conservative Party on that issue.
No. And also, well, Theresa May ran for a mandate to give her a free hand on Brexit, and everybody said no. Yeah, she said that she was asking the country for a mandate to do her vision of Brexit, and when the country voted her back in without a majority, she still thought that was a mandate.
She just keeps hearing the word no, and furthermore...
No.
How much no can one woman take?
Well, it depends. She's a Maybot, so she's on auto-repeat, isn't she?
I just think that I mean, why... If I were her, I don't think I'd still be doing that job. I think I'd have given it up and kind of put my feet up and just gone on holiday for the rest of my life. I mean, she can't be desperately in need of money, can she?
No, but like David Cameron, quit the next day.
Well, exactly. I think that she's there trying to do her duty to try to gain some success out of this catastrophe that has been gifted to her by her predecessor.
Yeah, but I mean, managing the Conservatives is like herding a bunch of kittens. It's not possible.
Well, you could say that about any group of human beings who haven't been turned into yes people. And,
yes. I can see your point there, but
yes.
No, it's unmanageable, and I think what it does say is that she was massively ambitious to be Prime Minister at any cost.
Well, I think that you could say that about any politician. I mean, any politician that wants to become an MP must have a thought, at least briefly, about ascending to the top job. And that chance will only come around once. Unless you're incredibly lucky, you only get one go. And so you can't say, "Oh no, I'll." Are you all right?
I'm fine. Yeah, sorry, I just had a cough.
You can't say, "Oh no, I'll not take it now," but ask me again in a couple of years. So you just got to take it when it's available to you. I do feel almost a little bit sorry for her. Almost. A little bit.
Yes, except of course, I don't think she's got any personality, so there's no point feeling sorry for her. She wouldn't understand.
That's a little bit unfair. She's not she's not an actual automaton, you know.
No, well, an automaton is mechanical, which is just a computer program on a continuous loop.
With great shoes.
Excellent shoes.
Yeah.
Yes. Have you seen the leopard print ones?
I have.
Yeah.
She can't walk in them very well, but they do look great when she's standing still. All right.
What about when she's dancing?
I'll have to say no there. All right, thanks a lot, Julian. 0345 6060 973. Irene says, have you tried suet pellets for your birds? Well, I thought that's what fat balls were. But the word pellets rather suggests that they're smaller than a ball. So no is the answer to that question. I've tried fat balls, which I thought were suet balls. I mean, if I just cut them up into smaller, would that help? Probably not. I think when I put them out first, a few birds did try, but not in a greater enough number to actually count as a success. Some alight on the feeder, look at it, and then just leave, which I find offensive. Jack says, fat balls and little peckers. What does that mean? Rob says, I purchase lion dung and spread it around my perimeter fence. Cats do not enter my garden and slay my garden birds. Well, what about lions? Where do you get lion dung from? Don't tell me. Waitrose. Let's have Taunton. Hello, John.
Oh, hiya. Oh, it just caught me when I was getting a tissue. Sorry.
Excuse me?
Yeah, sorry, I was getting a tissue because my nose is running.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
I'm sorry about that. You were talking about Jeremy Corbyn and the polls.
Yes.
And you were saying that the polls should be better for him.
They should be way out in the lead.
No. The reason why he's not way out in the lead is, first of all, is the mainstream media and the newspapers are out to get him. And people, I think a lot of people, they don't see further than their noses when it comes to what's really going on. And the people, a lot of people are superficial when it comes to news.
Well,
and what they hear on the,
I think you should
on the local news.
You could have just ended that sentence at superficial. A lot of people are superficial. I think almost everybody is. I know I am.
No, yeah, but you've got more depth in you because you see the bigger picture. A lot of people don't. A lot of people. I talk to people about politics and they're clueless.
But what do you mean by the bigger picture? Where do you get the bigger picture from if it's not from newspapers? Please don't say Facebook.
The newspapers, majority of the newspapers in this country are right-wing. They're the people that you were talking about earlier on who want to... they're scared of a Jeremy Corbyn government because of his... he wanted to sort of break up their monopoly.
Yes, that's right. But are they not preaching to the converted? I mean, it's a lot.
Well, some people are gullible.
Well, wait a minute. It's unlikely that somebody who reads the Daily Mail, for instance, would be voting Labour, isn't it?
Yes, I understand. But how many other? All right then. What papers are Labour then?
Well, you could make an argument for the Guardian being.
Not really. With not the way it's been behaving lately.
How's it?
It's more Lib Dem.
Is it?
Yes.
Well,
I read through it.
Not sure about that.
It criticises Corbyn and everything they're doing with Brexit and anti-Semitism.
I know that Jeremy Corbyn is anti-Europe, but it just seems to me like such an open goal that a party could be the opposite of what the Tories are doing as far as Brexit's concerned. That just seems to be a huge opportunity that they're missing because the leader of the Labour Party kind of agrees with where the Tories are going on this.
Well, no, there's a difference. He wants a customs union, and he wants to make sure that you don't have a no-deal Brexit.
Well, do you think that he actually thinks... Wait a minute.
He has not ruled out a no-deal Brexit.
John, do you think that he actually thinks that, or he's been pushed into saying that?
No, I think he believes it. I think he's an honest and genuine person. And this is it. See, people I can't understand. I'm not a Labour member. I don't believe. I won't vote Labour here because it's a Tory constituency where I live. There's not a cat's chance in hell of Labour winning the seat where I live in Taunton.
Well, not if people don't vote for Labour.
Well, the share of the vote did go up from 4,000 to 10,000 in 2017.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, the Tory won the seat with nearly 30,000 votes.
Right.
So there's no point.
Well, so who do you vote for?
The only other MPs we've had here previously was a narrowly victory for Lib Dems.
Well, so who do you vote for then?
Right. My heart is Labour, but I vote tactically Lib Dem to get the Tories out.
Okay. And how's that working out for you?
It's not, unfortunately.
No.
That's not... The political system is broken. We don't have proportional representation.
Yeah, well, that seems also a wide-open goal. But I think that if the two main parties do...
He's got enemies in his own party at every turn.
Every party's got enemies in their party. Everybody hates everybody else all of the time.
I understand that, right? But you think, what you call it, those defectors that have left to form TIG, the independent group, would see the bigger picture and just realise that trying to get rid of the Tories. They're not going to get rid of the Tories by that, like this.
Well, it does seem likely that they will split the remaining vote.
You've got three Tory MPs, right, who are completely different economic values to the others.
Well, you would assume so. Yeah, you would assume so. Yeah, it seems unlikely that any of them can agree with each other and produce some sort of coherent manifesto that they are all in concert with. I just don't really get it. But I would expect by this time next week that there will be another group that have allied themselves together along their traditional political party lines, that there'll be an independent Conservative group and an independent Labour group. Both independent of the independent group.
See how this pans out, and also who funds them, because they are a company; they're not a party.
Well, they are they're soliciting funding from us. They want us to pay them money. Now, I'm sure that they are also would be delighted if people with more money than we have, John, would chip in.
This is why the system is broken. There's no transparency.
Well, the only way to fix that is for us all to pay a tax so that we can fund our political parties.
Oh, yeah,
directly.
I 100% agree with you.
Do you?
100%.
Well, that's just you then. Because I think the very idea of paying more money to fund political parties might get people dropping their tea.
Well, not if it means you're not going to be sort of people who have got lobbyists who are trying to influence policy.
But I think that will continue to be the case, one way or the other.
Yeah, but there should be some sort of checks on this lobbying and the way they can influence legislation.
I completely agree. And you know who else agrees? David Cameron. It was a long time ago now. It was just after.
I remember him saying that.
Exactly. It was just after
but he doesn't believe it.
It was just after the MP's expenses scandal came to light, and David Cameron said out loud that the next major political scandal would be about lobbying, and it's almost as though he said it by accident, because he didn't mention a word about it since, not a syllable. And neither did anybody else. Curious, that. Maybe he was drunk at the time. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
Coming up at 1 on LBC, Matt Stadlen.
God, we're running late!
Here's a call in Carnforth. Hey up, Annie.
Hey up, Nick. How you doing?
I'm great, mate. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thanks.
Excellent.
I'm now, but at this time of night. Sorry about my, whatever.
Very, very rude.
Disgusting. Yes, very tired at this time of night. Yes, I just rung you up to
Yes.
take you up on something you said ages ago, and you've probably forgotten you said it now. But you said something about people who were successful were particularly intelligent.
I
Well, that was
deny
right.
ever having said that.
I think you did say something about it. You know, it was probably because they were intelligent that they were successful.
Oh, yeah, I did say that.
You did say that, yes.
No, I didn't. To be precise, what I said was, and I made a great point of covering myself by trying to be as reasonable as I possibly could. I said that if you take out the luck part, which is the common variable, and I think is the thing that affects people's success in life almost completely, it's almost all about luck. So if you take that out, what you got left is probably more likely than not that somebody who is successful will be more intelligent, perhaps, more likely than not in every case, of course, but we're talking about averages here. If you take the luck out, then somebody who is more successful will be more intelligent on average than somebody who is less successful. That seems reasonable.
Do you mean that if somebody who comes from a really underprivileged background becomes very successful, then they are probably brighter than somebody whose parents have had the money to send them to Eton, like most of the the cabinet, you know, about half of them have all
No,
been
because
to Eton.
that's the luck part.
Yes, I was also going to say, you know, it's all to do with luck, really, isn't it?
Almost everything is to do with luck, but you can't legislate for luck, and you can't blame luck or any of those things. So if you take luck out, and luck is, to be clear, are you healthy? Were you born to parents who wanted you, who were bright, who encouraged you? Did you go to a good school? Did you go to a school where people weren't disrupting the class? Did you have a good teacher? Did you have, good mental health when you went through school? Did you, and so on and so on. All of life is luck. 99% of life is luck. But if you take that out, then it is more likely than not, that somebody who is more successful will be more intelligent than somebody who is less successful. Is that true?
Possibly. Possibly. I think if you come from a really underprivileged background and you... but I think to some extent it has to be luck as well with that.
Yeah.
You know, get some lucky breaks.
Of course. You meet somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who gets you a job in a place, and you meet somebody there, or you have an idea because you saw something on the wall in that place at that time. It's like meeting your life partner. I mean, if you think about how you met, the incredibly unlikely events that caused you to meet at a specific place and time, I mean, that's just luck too.
Definitely, yeah.
Because if you'd gone and got the next bus, or you were grumpy that day, so you didn't talk to whoever it was that came up to you, then you would never have met that person, and you wouldn't be with them for your entire life or the weekend.
Yes, I know what you mean, but I do think if you look at the top of society, whether it's MPs or the judiciary or also, anything really at the top of society, even journalists, the BBC.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, only 7% of people go to private
yes,
schools.
for luck.
But, 40% of BBC journalists are Oxbridge educated and been to private schools.
That's luck right there. Of course it is.
Yeah, and the same with the MPs and the judiciary and all of them.
Because those kids didn't, by their own hard work, get to go to Eton. They just got sent there by their rich parents.
Yes, they had the good fortune to be born to very wealthy families.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh well. Yeah. I got a bit. My brain is too scrambled tonight. I'm too tired. Actually, I got a bit. I missed the bit where you said it was mainly luck. Yeah.
I was falling over myself trying to say something that was a little bit controversial, but trying to take the controversy out for in order not to upset people like your good self.
Oh, well, that's all right. I'm just too tired to concentrate properly.
It's just luck. That's what life is. It's one lucky or unlucky break after the next. That's it.
Yes, plenty of unlucky ones I'm having at the moment. But talking of your birds...
Yes.
I think that's very mean of you to stop feeding the goldfinches.
What?
I do, I really do. I feel terrible about our birds because we fed our birds all year round, actually. But since my partner had his accident, neither of us can feed the birds now. So since May, they haven't been fed, and still occasionally they come and sit in the tree. I look out of my window and I look at them. I think, oh, poor things. You know, I feel so mean about them all.
Well, let's not anthropomorphise. They probably would arrive if food was there, but they probably won't bother if there isn't, and they can probably see that the food is or is not there from a good distance away. And if they're not at your place, then they'll be somewhere else, because birds, let's not forget, are they're a wild animal. They're not completely dependent on us. They'll come for a free meal, right enough, but mostly they go out and find food. That's why there's hundreds of millions, billions. I think, don't cats chew through 100 million birds a year in this country? It's something incredible like that, which means that there must be billions of birds all getting on perfectly well without me putting out sunflower seeds.
I do think the RSPB did put out some information a while ago saying that if you feed birds all year round, it can increase their populations by up to 25%, especially things like sparrows, sparrows are getting quite scarce now, which seems ridiculous because they used to be so common, and also starlings. Starlings are getting quite scarce, although we've got a fair few round here. There are plenty of other people around here that do feed the birds. It's just that I miss them, and I feel a bit mean because they still come every now and again and they poke about in the tree and look where we used to hang all the feeders, and then they go off again, so... But, the goldfinches, they are seed feeders. That's why they just sit there and munch and munch and munch and munch. Yeah. Whereas the other birds that you were talking about, they just take one. They're not just seed feeders. They'll eat other things. Whereas all the finches, they're just, seed feeders. So that's what they like.
They're just so greedy, though. I mean, and they're very aggressive. They take up residence on one of those perches. I mean, I've only got 2 perches. And they'll come in like some malevolent gang, a very pretty coloured malevolent gang, right enough. But they'll come in and just take occupation, and no other bird can get a look in. They sit there and they just chew and chew and chew, and they're the dirtiest eaters because almost everything that they stick in their beaks falls out, and there's this giant pile of bits all over everywhere, which you would think would encourage ground-feeding birds to come and eat. But the problem with that is that it's right near a hedge where I know that cats hide, because I've seen piles of pigeon feathers just near where that hedge is. So I know that there's at least one cat that knows that that's where birds congregate. So I'm a bit loath to let goldfinches give a giant pile of food for a ground feeder bird to eat in that spot.
Oh, there is a solution to that, because we do that. If underneath your feeders you need to get washing up bowls and put very fine chicken wire, just the really sort of small chicken wire, so that birds can't get in and poke through it, and then it catches all the bits. The other birds can't get into it because it's unhealthy for a disease point of view to have bits all over the floor, because other birds will come along, and finches particularly have quite a nasty disease that they can give to each other. Well, and to some other birds.
Well, what about me?
Oh, not you. No, just to each other. So, it was about 10 years ago it came in, and it really nearly wiped out green finches around here. They're sort of recovering a bit now. But the goldfinches weren't as badly hit, but it does particularly hit finches. So it's best to, get your washing up bowls out there with very fine chicken wire. And then it all drops into there. And you
more equipment.
Yeah, well, doesn't cost much, does it? And you have to empty them every now and again. It gets a bit pongy, so you need to get your rubber gloves on.
Again, you're not selling this to me.
But it does
Disease,
work,
smell, equipment, blimey.
Yes, it's not that much.
It's like once you start on this route, there's just no end to it.
Yes, it does take a lot of time looking after them properly, and because, you should clean your feeders once every, at least every fortnight,
while,
really.
yeah.
Yes, you should,
which is not a job I look forward to at all.
And sterilise them as well.
Sterilise them?
Yeah, we use Milton, the baby bottle stuff. We clean them and then we put them in Milton afterwards.
I'm going to be starving to death, trying to save up enough money to feed the blooming birds.
Yeah.
But anyway, leave it with me, Annie. I've obviously got a lot of work to do.
Definitely.
All right, thanks a lot.
Bowls out.
Yeah, all right, I will. I have to go and buy one first, but I wish I hadn't started this now. Who knows what might happen between now and 10 o'clock this evening, but whatever it is, we'll chew it up and spit it out then, eh? If you stick around, I do think that Steve Allen will set you straight at 5, or is it 4? Where's my research notes? At 5 o'clock, Steve Allen will come in, but right now it's Matt Stadlen.
Nick, I'm going to accuse you of something, I'm afraid.
Yes.
You're a thief.